We are now talking to Brewers pitching prospect, Braden Webb. What's going on, Braden?
What's up?
How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm good. So tell us a little bit about your situation with the pandemic. How are you and your family doing?
Me and my family are good. I'm just back home training in Oklahoma. Just, kind of waiting around to see if I end up making the taxi squad for the Brewers. Just trying to stay on top of my game while
have you been dancing?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah? What kind of music do you like to dance to?
Yeah, it don't matter. If it's got a beat, I can move my feet.
Look at you. If you have a beat, you can move my feet. Now, you can rhyme, too. Could you rap? Do you know how to rap?
Do I know how to rap? Yeah, I do, actually.
Oh, man. We're going to have to use that before we get you off the phone. You're going to have to give me one of your freestyle raps, okay?
Oh, that's putting me on the spot, man.
Well, I like to do that. So there you go. So tell us a little bit about your college career and when you got drafted by the Brewers.
I attended the University of South Carolina. Went there for 1 year. I was a draft-eligible true freshman. I think it was like the first time in NCAA history that someone came into a four-year school and got to stay for only 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then, I had the year that I had at South Carolina, and then I ended up getting to be blessed enough to get drafted in the third round by the Brewers.
In terms of your experience at South Carolina, what were some of your favorite things about playing for there? A powerhouse SEC program for baseball, for sure. One of their bigger sports there. And again, in probably arguably the strongest conference there. What were some of your experiences like with your teammates and just that whole college baseball life?
College baseball is some of the most fun I've had ever playing the game. You get to come in with guys who are just all trying to compete for the same goal, and that's to make it to Omaha. Although my team wasn't lucky enough to make it to Omaha, we made it to a super regional. And, you go through the grind of the road to Omaha, and you got all the off-season workouts, all the early mornings, all the two-a-days, and then you guys just bond, and you continue to grow, and it's not like you're competing for someone else's job. You're competing to earn a spot to play in that lineup every weekend, and then compete against some of the best, arguably the best conference in baseball.
When you talk about the Brewers organization, and this is a team that has been up for a World Series the last couple of years, they really have dominated offensively and defensively, and really one of the best bullpens in baseball. Mm-hmm. When you look at yourself, do you see yourself as a starting pitcher for the Brewers organization or a relief pitcher?
Right now I'm a starter. However, I'll play whatever role the Brewers would have me to play, or, just whatever they think is best to help win games. And if I do end up getting called up and they decide to switch me to the bullpen, I'll adapt. And if they decide to keep me as a starter, then I'll continue to try to be the best version of myself that I can be.
One of the latest trends in baseball, and the Brewers are one of the big teams to use this, is the opener. We see that a lot with, again, starters that pitch 3 innings, then they'll rotate around different parts of the game. Do you think you would be in that kind of role, and maybe minor league baseball could embrace that kind of thing too? And also, do you think that changes a pitcher's mentality as a whole if they have to go into different spots?
I've never really been just considered an opener. I've either started or I've closed. And so that's something that I would have to, like I said, adapt to. And, if an opener is what is being considered, then I'd gladly take that role and then, come back on shorter rest if I have to. But I think they wouldn't do it in the minor leagues just because you gotta let guys develop, and you gotta let them grow and learn how to utilize their bodies every 5 days, because it's different than college baseball or high school baseball.
As you guys know, we are talking to Brewers pitching prospect Braden Webb. Now, Braden, as a player, and your dream was to to get drafted to the MLB and be a star pitcher for one of these big organizations. When you look at your career so far as a young player and moving forward, is there a particular pitcher that really stands out that you wanted to be like or you want to be like for your future as an MLB player?
I mean, I've always strived to just, like I said, be the best version of myself. However, I do enjoy watching guys like Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw and Garrett Cole pitch. Like those guys just attack the zone, and you know, I strive to attack the zone from the top to bottom and not just side to side, and utilize my pitches the best way that I possibly can.
I'm surprised this question has been asked because Errol likes to ask about a lot of the new rules of baseball. One of the things that's being debated on for MLB is the pitch clock for starting pitchers and for relievers, and it's been used a lot in the minor leagues. Is that something that you are, one, in favor of, and two, have you been encountering that in your minor league career so far?
Yeah, I experienced it in Double-A. I think that it speeds the game up, honestly, and I think that people could tend to struggle with it because there's a lot of guys who like to work very slow. But I thoroughly enjoyed, just getting the ball and going, and like getting the sign and going. Because it's just like you get into a really good rhythm with your catcher and you guys are on the same page. It really helps.
As you know, I am a diehard Yankee fan. And I sit here and even analytically, an analyst, as a broadcaster, I won't sit here and talk about the Yankees like a lot of people think that I'm a homer, and I talk a lot of crap about my teams as well. Growing up, was there a particular team you rooted for? And if so, do you ever want to play for that organization if you have the opportunity to do so?
Growing up, I actually grew up a Dodgers fan. My dad was a diehard Dodgers fan, and he taught me the game of baseball from a very young age. And so we grew up watching a lot of Dodgers games, and every time they would come play the Cardinals, we would go to St. Louis and watch them play the Cardinals because my mom is actually a Cardinals fan. Because my great-grandpa, on my mom's side of the family, he's still alive, and he was a Cardinals fan. And so we would always just go watch the Dodgers and Cardinals play. So, I mean, I am happy where I'm at, and you got to grow where your feet are planted. Mm-hmm. And as long as the Brewers want me, I'll be Brewer till the end.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Show me the money, baby. I mean, if you've never seen Jerry Maguire, show me the money.
Oh, for sure. I've seen Jerry Maguire a million times.
I love him already.
He can rap and loves Jerry Maguire. Yes, you love him already.
We're best buddies now, man. We'll be texting buddies now, my friends.
Hey, I'm down.
So, in terms of the Brewers organization, both with the minor leagues and with your team right now, the active roster, a lot of great players on it. Is there a player that you're most looking forward to playing with and learning from?
Actually, there's I've been lucky enough to rehab. I was hurt all last season, and I got to rehab with Brent Suter, Suter and Corey Knievel. And whenever I showed up to rehab, they kind of took me under their wing, and I got to learn a lot from those guys. And we had a lot of good conversations about different things. And they're both two totally polar opposite kind of people. Like, Corey loves playing video games, and we played video games every night. And then Suter is a very high energy guy, and I'm also a high energy guy. And so he would take me, and we would go work on visualization drills without even throwing a baseball on the mound, like just visualizing where you're going to throw your pitch, go through your entire motion like it's game speed, and see yourself over and over again throwing that pitch to that spot, and working on that kind of thing. And so, I mean, I got to rehab with Ryan Braun in my first year. He came down and rehabbed with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, and he and I had a long conversation while we were shagging balls in the outfield about just what hitters like and what hitters don't like. And he gave me a lot of positive things to think about, and so I've never ran into like one of our big leaguers acting like they were too good to talk and discuss things with any of our minor leaguers. They're a very small organization, but they're also very close knit, and they talk about like a chain link, staying connected. And I mean, Craig comes down and he'll talk to the minor leaguers and tell us the same thing every year, about staying connected. And so I feel like our entire organization, from top to bottom, acts that way, and we all are pulling for one another. And it's just been a really great experience over the last 3 years. I couldn't be more blessed, honestly.
When you look at the MLB and you look at Tommy John surgery, and it's been a catalyst of really putting a lot of pitchers out. You're talking about guys besides Max Scherzer, who you mentioned, he's never gotten it, and I'm very surprised. And he spoke very highly of what people need to do, the training that they need to do for their arm at a younger age, where it doesn't cause them an opportunity to maybe hurt their UCL or get Tommy John surgery. When you look at all the pitchers, you're talking about here in New York, Noah Syndergaard and Savarino now, and all the top pitchers we've seen go down and then come back either stronger or even worse. When you look at that, do you think the younger children, the younger kids that are playing professional, minor league baseball or little league or all that other stuff, do you think the parents should take a step back and not make the kids throw the ball or throw curveballs at such a young age, and maybe give them a little bit more time to develop their arm and their strength in their teenage?
I mean, you only have so many bullets in the arm. I think that a lot of parents, overpitch their kids growing up, trying to get them seen and get them ready for college scouts and pro scouts at a very young age. And my dad was always my baseball coach, and he was never really that way. The only time that he ever left me out there for longer than I needed to be was because I walked the bases loaded, and he told me to get out of the situation myself. And so, I mean, just little life lessons within the game. But I think that parents pay too much money for little 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds and even 12-year-olds to learn how to pitch early on, and it's just something that comes naturally later on in life, and that's when you start hitting it. It's like, your 6th, 7th, 8th grade year, you start growing up, you start maturing more. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like there's definitely things that you can do to help preventative maintenance, I would say, to better off your chances of not receiving it, because you never know when it's going to go. Sometimes it just goes without you even knowing. And I actually was wrestling around with my cousin when I was 12. I hit the coffee table and broke my arm in 3 different places, and my Tommy John ligament pulled loose from my elbow, and it shriveled up and died on the inside. And so from the time I was 12 until I was 19, I pitched my entire middle school to high school career without a UCL in my elbow and stress fractures in my arm. And so my senior year, right before the draft, I blew out my elbow, and then they went in and they were like, hey, you fractured all the way through what's called the olecranon. You're going to need 2 screws in it. Oh, and on top of it, you don't have a Tommy John ligament.
Well, I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah. Well, they actually told me that there was a chance that I might not ever throw a baseball again.
Well, that's not good.
So I think that, speaking on the fact that guys come back worse, I think you get out of it what you put into it. And if you, go into it with the, oh, no, pitiful me attitude, then there's a good chance that you're probably not going to make it out of there alive and playing again very well. And if you go into it with a positive mindset and you're like, okay, here we go, it's time to grind, let's get back to where we were and get back to being better than what we were, then you're going to have success. And that's I was lucky enough to come across a guy named Jamie Evans in high school, and he moved me out to Maryland to live with him and train with him during that entire year that I was down for Tommy John before I went to South Carolina.